Hello, my name's Samantha Webster. I'm a committee member of the BNZBA and a director of Australasian Recruitment Company in London and Home Recruitment Company based in New Zealand. I lived in London for 20 years and have been back living in New Zealand for the last 7, so I'm particularly interested to learn and share information for those thinking of travelling or working in London post-Brexit and the pandemic. I'm delighted to be interviewing Clint Heine today. Clint's the founder of Kiwis in London Facebook page and website. Clint started Kiwis in London in 2011 with the aim of connecting Kiwis living in London with jobs, accommodation and events. And the Kiwis in London community grew very quickly and continues to be a go-to source of information for those looking to travel or live in London in the UK. It has helped tens of thousands of expats on their OE journey. Clint is originally from Nelson and landed in London in 2003 with the idea that he'd travel, work a little, and then head home after 2 years. 19 years later, he is still Northern Hemisphere based, still traveling and working, and spent 10 years as a careers advisor before creating Kiwis in London out of boredom at the time. Since then, he's been working non-stop to support expats and is still loving it. Clint was shortlisted for the New Zealand Society Air New Zealander of the Year in 2015 and the Kiwi Bank New Zealander of the Year in 2021. And in Clint's words, not bad for a page set up through being bored. So Clint, welcome. It's great to be chatting to you today.
Hi, Sam. Thanks very much. Great introduction. How are you today?
Really well, thanks, Clint. Really well. Look, firstly, looking at the Kiwis in London Facebook page, I noted you've got nearly 90,000 followers. You know, that's demonstrated a real need for Kiwis to want to connect while away from home. Why do you feel it has seen such growth over the last 11 years?
It's because people are always wanting to look for information, and Facebook until now is still a very popular place for people to go to. Why it grows is because it's constantly being updated every day. You know, it's not a 5 minutes a day job. It's been my waking up and going to bed thing every single day. So, you know, and if you keep things like this going over and social networks moving all the time, the more people come along to it. And that's why it's seen such a consistent growth over the years.
Great. Due to the pandemic, the London landscape changed a lot for travellers over the last 2 years. For those thinking of travelling to London, how would you describe day-to-day life post-COVID?
I'm glad you said post-COVID, because right now in the UK, COVID does not exist anymore. And in that respect, life has moved on. Sure, there is COVID, but the political atmosphere and the society has moved on to a situation where we're going back to normality, going to work, going on the trains, going on holidays. Everything is back to what it was. It's just now in our heads now, how far we go to it. Do we still work from home or not? Do we wear a mask on the trains if we choose to? I mean, it's all voluntary now what steps you take, but in the mindset for most people, we're back to normal. And it's, dare I say it, it's exciting. It's great.
So just to clarify, there are no restrictions around socialising, travelling, moving around, living in London due to COVID?
Correct. There are no restrictions at all. The only restriction we would see now is probably the ones heading into Europe, where even those restrictions are quite slowly, or quickly, I should say, disappearing. But in the UK, there are no restrictions at all.
Great. So talking about work, you advertise a lot of roles on the Kiwis in London site. So what types of opportunities are being advertised at present and what roles are in hot demand?
In short words, everything. It's just an amazing time to look for work right now. And when we say, yes, I do advertise a lot of jobs, and the main things we're looking for is anything office-based. Construction has not stopped being a hot issue as well. So construction, any sort of trade. Those people who are come over for that are gold dust. So yes, you've got office, you've got finance, you've got, I've got lots of lawyers, marketing, and then down to also things like cafes, hospitality. But again, it's everything, as I said, it's really is, and everything's hot, and everyone is in demand. I believe last year they said that the British jobs market has not been this thirsty for workers for about 70 years. And that's huge. I mean, and that's a huge rebound from where it was when COVID started. So, I mean, everything is ready. Everyone is ready to grab you for work, literally.
So plenty of amazing opportunities out there. So that leads on to my next question. How do you feel New Zealanders can benefit career-wise by heading to the UK this year?
I believe coming now where it's such a high demand is the best thing. And because why not? You know, if you want to grow your career, if you want to get more experience, if you want to get some role that you might not be able to get in New Zealand, we have them here in the UK. And the best way of doing that is just researching and then coming here, or even coming here and then announcing yourself via social media, via LinkedIn, all that. But I mean, I would say anyone who's thinking about or dithering over coming over shouldn't. It's really an incredible time right now, and an opportunity to not only to do what you're doing now, to actually grow your role in something much more bigger and juicy, and of course more money.
Have you seen a change on Kiwis in London to the type and number of roles being advertised in the last year?
Oh yeah, definitely. This last year, I mean, when we think about it now, 12 months ago, the market was a bit tired, a bit dead with COVID still lurking around and causing some difficulties. But as we progress throughout these last 12 months, right now, I have not seen something this crazy since even before COVID. And it's really, the demand is great. I'm looking at my page every day, and every post I'm posting, you know, we've got a lot of responses, a lot of people sharing with their friends, their family members, grandparents telling their kids to go to London to get work. I mean, this is crazy. So I'm seeing so much interaction right now that I haven't seen in a very long time, and it's the same with work. Everything's happening. It's just and recruiters and employers are contacting me more than ever to try and at least get their part of the action, because they see the Kiwis and Australians coming over now, and they are like, well, we want some now, yesterday.
And has there been any change to earnings or benefits or working arrangements following the pandemic or Brexit in London?
Yeah, I mean, with that, yes, I'm noticing definitely in salary purposes an increase. A lot of companies are bumping up their wage structures quite well in response to the competition that's out there. Where are we dealing with an employer who I've dealt with for 5 or 6 years? He would say, can we change your ads to put the wages up? And that's happening for about 60 or 70% of the people I'm working with, which is great. Benefits wise, I'm not noticing so much, but I know they're there. But that's not something that I totally deal with. But I do see through my connections that they are willing to be more flexible. They're willing to allow people to do a lot more than they used to. And the flexibility thing is something which I'm seeing a lot more as well. That word wasn't always in the job advertising I'm doing, whereas now flexibility is a key word that they're trying to reinforce and stress now for job seekers. So that's a good thing. It's a great thing. With Brexit, you know, Brexit was never really going to affect ordinary Kiwis and Australians as it was anyway, in my opinion. And so that hasn't always been a thing. But by saying that, the visas to the UK and extending your visa to the UK has been made a lot easier because of Brexit, because the government has changed the rules to make that a bit more flexible, to make it a bit more easy for people to stay in the UK once they're here.
Great, thanks, Clint. Certainly a lot more opportunities around than possibly people think there are. So that's great to hear. What's it like to travel in Europe at present? Are there any types of restrictions in place or vaccination statuses that are required to travel into Europe?
At the moment, the rules are constantly changing, but if you're fully vaccinated, there isn't really much stopping you going into Europe. Some places, I think Germany and France, are still a little bit here and there, passenger locating forms and things like that. But there's no more quarantine or things like that anymore. Other countries like Poland, you can walk in pretty much as long as you've been vaccinated. And other countries are still happening now. Although by saying that, Spain, I think, they're not allowing unvaccinated travellers yet, I believe, which I saw in the news yesterday. But other than that, I'm finding that in Europe is slowly just knocking all the walls down and letting people back in again. And that's my experience. I've seen a couple more things recently and I'm enjoying the travelling again. But the rules will change constantly. But at the moment, they're trying to play catch up with the UK and they're all pretty much almost there, which is great.
It's fantastic to hear. So is Europe a welcome and easy destination for New Zealanders to currently travel to?
Oh yes, Europe is very welcoming, very warm. It's ready. They want the tourism so much, and summer's coming, and it's the best time of the year in Europe, in my opinion, of course. But Europe is always good for us, and it's an exciting place to be, to experience so much. And it goes without saying, really, how much you can see and do in Europe. And the festivals are coming up again, and it's getting to look really beautiful in Europe right now. It's going to be great for any New Zealander coming over. Honestly, it's going to be an amazing summer, and I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I can feel your enthusiasm. I feel excited for anyone thinking about heading up this summer too. So what would be the main challenges, do you feel, for anyone looking at heading to the UK this year? Is there anything they need to be aware of or should definitely be considering before they make their decision to leave or before they book that flight?
I would do your research, just a quick bit of ground research to see that there is something for you here, and even not. I mean, you don't have to. You could come here and not be prepared and do whatever you want. It's fine. But the challenge would be just to, if you do want to continue your career, to do a bit of research, contact people, and don't be afraid to ask questions from strangers who might be able to help, because we are always happy to help when we're here in the UK, so it's no problems at all. So the challenge really is to make sure that it's something that you want to do, that you actually want to be in the UK. And then from there, save your money. Do that. The exchange rate's very good though, if you're traveling from New Zealand into the UK, so it's quite good in that respect. But again, just research. And that way there, half your job is done. When you get here, you'll have the obviously culture shock when you arrive. Other than that, really, there isn't really much more challenges because of the market being so open, because of the freedom we're experiencing here. I don't see it much of a challenge anymore now that, you know, we have so much more capability to research and to know what to expect when we get here. It's so much different than it was before social media and all that, by all means.
And what do your Kiwis in London Facebook followers mainly use the site for? What areas are they going to most on your site, do you find?
Well, there's a lot of things. I've got two groups. So one has the 90,000. I've also got another one which is almost 30,000. And I've split them into two parts. Now, my main Kiwis in London page, people go there because they want jobs. They want to also know where to live. I have accommodation set up there as well. We actually have a Kiwis in London application as well for finding flats. People also use my page for that. So people come for those two main reasons to find flats. to find jobs. They also want to check out what events we are running. And we've restarted our events. Our first event runs in the end of April. And we're going to do them probably every month again as we used to. So people do come for that, for the flats, for the jobs, for the events. On my other page, people come because they want to ask questions, the basic questions: how to get my visa, how do I how do I find LMP, where do I find the pies, and all the other kind of little bits of information about visas, about finding help, how to make friends. Everything. So we do everything, from people who come on their own who have no friends to people who come over with their groups and they want to find a flat, and everything in between. So it's a real wide range of things that people do come to visit my pages for. But we do it all, apparently so far anyway.
And if someone is looking for a place to live, what advice would you give them?
Patience. The market has not caught up just yet, with people wanting versus people supplying. There are still more people looking for rooms on my networks anyway, than there are rooms, but that's changing. And also you've got the bigger market, and there's other websites that do flats for people as well. But in my impression at the moment, it's just about finding a place, having the money, saving up for the deposit, to knowing that, and also kind of things like where you want to live, the location of where you want to live as well. That's always the thing that people always seem to ask us about. So it's just about being patient, making sure that you've got the budget to do so, and also have realistic expectations. I found finding a flat in London to be very kind of similar to finding a flat when I was leaving university or even at university. So it was a bit of a different standard. But and that was another thing, and also understanding that you probably will end up living with New Zealanders and Australians even by default, which isn't the end of the world. It's great, but there's also just other things like, understanding that you might have to take a bit longer to find a room. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks. So it's again just kind of making sure that you have some sort of backup in place, be it a hostel, be it maybe Airbnb. And it's all down to your budget as well. But again, you just need to keep looking, look before you come, and then keep looking when you arrive. Soon it'll get to the point where you can get a flat in a day. We're hoping that's going to happen again very soon. But in the meantime, it might take a few more days longer. So just be patient. All I can say.
Great. Look, what other advice would you offer to those who've not yet decided to make OE plans? They're still thinking about it.
What you really want to do in your life. If you are happy from where you are, then stay home. But in reality, I find that if you want to experience new things, if you want to meet new people, if you want to do a totally different job, if you want to reinvent yourself, if you want to do anything in your life which is different, you don't have to push too many boundaries. You don't have to change too much or do too much work. You could come over here and just have a great old time, work in a bar and holiday and have the best time ever and come home again. People have so many different reasons why they want to go on an OE, but there is a reason why the OE has been around for so many decades, is because it offers so much or so little to so many people. It means so much to people. People remember their OE when they're older. Some people might not come back. Guilty. Some people will just do something different. They'll find that a job they maybe never did in New Zealand or had the opportunity to do in New Zealand and actually do it in the UK. They'll find that New Zealanders are admired and liked offshore. They'll also see that we get mistaken for Australians all the time as well. But at the end of the day, when we travel around the UK and Europe, an OE is something which will change your life, and I would say mostly for the better. And you will understand more about the world, you'll understand more about other people, and you'll come back to New Zealand with a big open mind and be able to offer more to your country, which I find is always important. So that's my opinions on what people should think about for an OE.
Clint, it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, a wealth of knowledge and information on work, travel and life in London. You and your team are no doubt gearing up for a really busy summer with lots of arrivals. So thank you for your support of all those travelling Kiwis. And we really wish you and your team a long, hot UK and European summer this year. Thanks so much for your time. Great talking with you.
Thank you very much. As always, I'm always optimistic about this, and I'm looking forward to seeing as many new people come to the UK, probably have a drink with them as well. It's going to be an amazing year. So I really want people to really have a think about this and come over and experience something really, really awesome. Thank you very much.